welcome to this edition of the Ferrell Phelps Show. We're actually on location today with none other than Mr. Lloyd Gite. Lloyd, welcome to the Ferrell Phelps Show, man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, Lloyd, you were a news anchor. We're going to kind of mix things up here.
Okay.
You were a news anchor, I believe it was Fox, for 15 years.
No, actually I was a news reporter
for Fox.
For 18 years.
18 years.
Total of 25 years, but 18 years here in Houston.
Yes, yes. And that's how I remember you. From seeing you do all the reporting on that channel over the years, this, that, and the other. You had a wonderful job, needless to say. And
I did have a wonderful job.
I was, yeah. And when you left, I was like shocked when I saw that Lloyd Gite was no longer with that news channel. I'm like, he's made some type of transition. Then I didn't see you for a while.
Well, actually, I got fired. I didn't quit. They brought new management in, and once they bring new management in, most people say, well, this is an opportunity for us to fire so-and-so that wasn't doing this or was doing that. Okay. And I think part of mine was I was a little opinionated. Okay. And they didn't necessarily like that. Because, you know, it's Fox News, and Fox News is very conservative. Right. The diversity is not necessarily there, and the way they treat minorities has always been a big issue. And I was always butting heads with them, saying, well, what about this? Why don't we do this? Why don't we include black people in this story? Okay. So there were some issues. I'm surprised I stayed as long as I did.
Is that right?
I am.
Okay. So you weren't quiet, in other words.
I wasn't quiet, and that people who are not quiet, they suffer the consequences. And so I suffered the consequences, and part of that was being fired. But I did file a lawsuit against them and settled for $125,000. So that was,
is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We went to court, and at the last minute they decided to settle out of court because I had privy to so much information that would really hurt them.
Okay.
So got the money and ran.
Wow. And you know what? That's what you're supposed to do when you're faced with that type of adversity, or you feel like you're being mistreated in the workplace. Or
you can actually shut up, say nothing, or choose to say something.
There you go.
And if you do say something, they come after you. And they came after me.
Yeah.
But I knew a year before I left that I was not going to be there much longer. A year. Because when they brought in new management, I could see things that were happening. Okay. And so I started planning then what was going to happen to me. As a matter of fact, I started packing 6 months before they fired me. I had boxes at my desk. I'm like, I don't know how these people get away with my stuff. You know? I started packing and bringing stuff out of there that belonged to me. Okay. Because I saw the handwriting on the wall. And you got to be able to see the handwriting on the wall, or you won't be prepared. I was prepared.
And there's nothing like being prepared when you're dealing with different situations like that. So, needless to say, you're a smart man.
So many of us, unfortunately, are not prepared. We think that we'll be on this job forever. But now, since 2008, with the economy doing what it did, a lot of people realize that once you're on a job, does not say anything. You could be fired, or the economy could knock you out of your job. I mean, there are a whole bunch of young African Americans in Houston who got late, who were bawling, bawling, people that I knew. And when 2008 hit and the economy did what it did, MBAs couldn't save them. People don't understand how historic that meltdown was. A lot of people's lives were dramatically changed, and a lot of African Americans' lives were dramatically changed because of the economy. So you always got to think, this is good. Yeah. But who says this is going to last forever? And now we understand that it does not last forever. So you got to have a plan B, C, D,
E, F, G, all of them.
All of them.
And obviously, you obviously did, because now not only are we talking to the former news reporter, but we're talking to Lloyd Gite, the Gite Gallery owner. I want to shift for just a minute. Now, art and media, that's two totally different things.
It is.
How did you shift from being news reporter to now owning the gallery?
Well, it was not an overnight shift. I started traveling to Africa in 1976, right after I finished undergrad. Fell in love with Africa. I've always been enamored with Africa as a child. Okay. I always loved everything African. So the first trip there was to the west coast of Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Togo, and the Seychelles Islands. And I was so taken aback by the art. Okay. So just as a tourist, I was there for about a month or so. As a tourist, I started buying stuff and bringing it back with me. Okay. So when I would buy stuff and bring it back with me and people would see it, they would say, wow, the next time you're there, bring me something back.
Okay.
So over the years, let's say from 1980 to 2000, I financed my trips. I would go probably once a year to Africa, different parts of Africa,
Okay.
and I would buy art and fabrics, and I'd bring them back here and sell them to my friends.
Really?
Yeah. So that's
And
how
one
it
thing led to another.
One thing led to another. I was actually selling
Wow.
art out of my house. I lived in Memorial, and I was selling art out of my house.
I remember that.
They would come to my house, and we had all this wonderful art, and they would just select the art and buy it.
Right.
So by the time I got ready to transition, everything was in place. My last day on the job was a Sunday.
Okay.
I got off the job, went home, went to the airport, flew to West Africa, and never looked back.
Wow.
On a buying trip. Never looked back. Now, my being a reporter has certainly helped me in this endeavor because people knew the name.
The contacts, yeah,
They
absolutely.
knew the name. So when we launched the Gite Gallery, people were familiar with my last name.
Right.
So a lot of people who knew me through the media would come into the gallery and they'd start buying stuff. So we just built on it and built on it and built on it. And as a person who was in the media, I also know how to sell the business. I'm a good salesperson. I never realized that I was a good salesperson.
Okay.
But I'm a very good salesperson. I can sell me some African art.
Okay. Okay.
And I can bargain. I'm a really good bargainer. I can bargain for some art.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm also good at framing because a lot of people don't know how to frame art.
Mm-hmm.
All of our art is custom framed, so people don't have to worry about having to frame the art because we do it for them.
That makes it much more convenient.
Much more convenient because when I sold art that was not framed, people would always say, "Can you come with me to the framer and help me frame it?"
Right.
But I wasn't getting anything from that.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "We're just going to frame everything
And
ourselves."
that just adds to the cost of the
You
piece.
can take it off the wall,
And take it
in your
home.
house,
Right.
exactly, and put it up.
Now I want to ask you, the biggest buyers of African art, is that African Americans?
Oh yeah.
It is.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Because
Yeah,
from
yeah.
what I've understood, there's a big market in the Caucasian community for African art as well.
Well, the interesting thing, and what I have been able to glean from people's buying habits,
Okay.
whites are more into statues, like masks
Okay.
and fabrics and
Yes.
those kind of things.
Yes.
African Americans are more into the paintings.
Mm-hmm.
Original paintings by African artists, that's all we sell. The bright colors, they just love them. And that is what we make our money off of. We make our money off of the paintings.
Really?
That's what we make our money off of.
Okay.
Now, we've done some institutional, corporate kind of things, like Chevron bought a whole lot of African art from us, both paintings and
Masks.
statues and masks. And the zoo, the Houston Zoo, we outfitted their $30 million new gorilla habitat
Is that right?
with stuff from the gallery. They wanted to have all of this incredible art, and they got it from here. So people, yes, white people do gravitate primarily toward the artifacts. Black
Okay.
people, the art, the paintings. But then it's also, they kind of cross sections.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Especially if I go into a home. Now, sometimes I'll go into a home and people say, well, just do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows me to bring both artifacts and
And
paintings
paintings.
into the house and mix them.
Both the mediums. That's good. That's good.
Both of them, yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more about the art and particular artists that you have brought and made us familiar with here in the city of Houston from Brazil and Africa.
Well, actually, it's Cuba.
Is it Cuba?
We plan to go to Brazil, but we launched our first Afro-Cuban art exhibit several months ago.
We're going to talk about that a little bit more when we come back in just a moment. You guys stick around. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Lloyd Gite, the owner of the Gite Gallery in Houston, Texas. We specialize in African art, some of the finest art outside of Africa, one-of-a-kind pieces, be that acrylic, oil, watercolors, the whole gamut. And they're all custom framed. We have all kinds of things, wooden statues, bronze statues, terracotta statues. We have
All right, we're back with the Ferrell Phelps Show and my wonderful guest, Mr. Lloyd Gite of Gite Galleries. Now, when we left off, we were talking about particular artists, and I was thinking it was Brazilian, but you reminded me it's Cuban artist. Now, how did you discover this particular artist? I've seen the work, and it's phenomenal.
Well, actually, we decided, once Cuba opened up, I thought, okay, I need to go to Cuba
Okay.
and see what black people in Cuba have been doing. So I wasn't familiar with Cuban or Afro-Cuban art, but I did some research and was able to take a trip and buy some of the most fabulous paintings by Afro-Cuban artists. We in the States don't know about these artists because we were not allowed to go to Cuba. So I just went and found this beautiful art and brought it back here to Houston. And what we've decided now is what we're probably going to do, since all we sell up until this point was African art. So now we're thinking about doing Africa and the diaspora. We're thinking about certainly Cuba. We're thinking about Brazil. You mentioned that. We're thinking about Haiti. We're thinking about the diaspora.
Wow. Okay.
So we are considering doing that. This will be the first time we've sort of stepped back from African art. But again, that's our specialty.
Of African art.
But we're going to be adding some other types.
So you're basically broadening your horizon, which opens
broadening
up a
our
whole
horizon.
different market for you.
It does.
Which is always good to diversify.
And the unique thing is that they're all of African descent. You ask me how do I find artists? Let me tell you. I go to, when you talk about Africa, people are like, there are galleries in Africa? Of course there are galleries in Africa. I go to galleries, I go to markets, I go to neighborhoods, and I seek artists out. And
Really?
they're not that difficult to find. Fortunately, some of our artists from Africa are really big in Europe. They're not necessarily known here in the States.
Okay.
They're big in Europe. So we're trying to make them as big here in the States as we possibly can.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of avenues for African artists in the States.
Okay.
It's a really hard sell. But when I say African artists, that's almost a misnomer. Because if you look at some of the paintings that we have, you would not necessarily know that they were done by Africans. They could have been done by African Americans, they could have been done by white people, they could have been done by anybody, especially our abstract pieces. Well, you just can't say, oh, a black person did that. No.
Okay.
No. And I think that's the beauty of what we do. You can't just say, it looks African. You can't say that because what does it looks African mean? Now, of course, the statues and the masks and the fabrics, you can say that, but the paintings, and again, I call our paintings fine paintings by original artists.
Right. Okay.
We have some of the best artists around in the world.
Now, let me ask you this too. When we talk about artists, there's a big art culture here in the city of Houston. Are there any local artists that you highlight in the gallery?
No, not at all. We carry no African American artists, and my thinking was I wanted a niche.
Okay.
And what was not being fulfilled at the time that I opened the gallery was this kind of art.
Okay.
There are other galleries around the city that sell African American art. I didn't want to compete with them. I wanted to have my own deal.
Right.
Now, since that time, one of the major galleries that featured African American artists is no longer in existence. And that's very unfortunate. That's very unfortunate because I think that there is such a need for people to see African American art. I'm a big collector of African American art, especially artists in this city of Houston. There's some incredible African American artists. Lionel Lofton is one of them. Lehman Green, who is a professor at Texas Southern University. Charles Kramer. There are a lot of them, and I think that they need a place to showcase their art.
Right.
That is one thing that we are missing, somebody who can showcase local African American artists.
Yeah, and that's very important because the local artists certainly need support of the local people. So we as artists, and I call myself an artist as well.
And you are?
In a different genre, the genre of course of photography, as you know. And I'm so excited that you're going to be hosting my exhibit coming up.
Yes, I will.
In January or February. Really looking forward to that. Very excited about it. But as a local artist, we definitely need local support. We need people like yourself to support or talk about, make mention, to get us out there a little bit more as artists. So,
and this is the fourth largest city in the nation, soon to be the third largest city. And for us not to have more than one or two or three galleries that represent African American artists, it's just, I think, sad. Just sad.
But the good thing about that is, when you do, those people are coming to you for it. And whatever other entities they can come to, that we know the number is few.
And people will ask me, I want some African American art, where do I go? And there's at least one other person in the city that does African American art, and I send them to that particular person.
Okay.
But we don't have any plans to carry. That's not our mission. That was never our mission. Our mission was to always carry art from the continent. And you have to realize that artists from the continent are in certainly much more need than artists are, say, here. First of all, many of them live in poverty. You don't see a lot of people buying their work. So as a gallery, here in the U.S., we buy their work. We put food on their tables. And we help send their kids to school. And that's very important. You know, people were like, when Oprah Winfrey started her school in South Africa, they're like, well, why is she helping the Africans? I'm like, hey, that's who we are. Why not help them? You know, we don't just have to help people in Fourth Ward. We can help people in Africa and Fourth Ward. So that's, you know, again, that was our mission. And I think we have done a good job of fulfilling our mission.
Yeah.
But no plans to carry our African Americans. No.
Now, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Now, art is definitely one of the things that you do, and you actually are a gallery owner, this, that, and the other. But you also kind of delve into design and interior design now.
It's kind of
right or wrong?
Right.
Right? Okay.
It's actually part of what we do. I've done it for a long time, just as a favorite of friends.
Okay.
But now, I'm actually going out and buying furniture for people, buying rugs for people, helping to paint their houses, not me physically.
No.
I just finished a project of a home in Pearland where we went in probably like a 7,000 square foot home. I picked colors for the walls to be repainted, selected furniture, did the art, the whole 9 yards. Went and bought rugs, whole 9 yards. It's a complete project. And this woman she just said, look, do it.
Right. I think
money wasn't an issue.
I had the opportunity to see some of those images when I was here the last time.
Yeah,
I believe, right?
yeah.
Because you did not just one room, but you did a lot of
No, we did the
spaces.
whole house.
The kitchen, the living room, the entryway, I mean everything.
Yeah.
That I saw. So that's interesting that you're able to transition in that direction, and you're able to do that. In addition to selling them the paintings.
It takes a special client to say, just come in and do it. And this particular woman was like, well, that's not my lane. And she said, I've seen what you do. And she saw my house and she knew the kind of things I did in my house.
Right.
She was saying, I'm too busy. So designing is something else that we've added to what we do here at the gallery. But again, it takes a special client. It really does.
Right. And you know, I think you mentioned that that particular client should come on in and do what you do.
She said.
I know that's a blessing when somebody says, come on in and do what you do, because they're trusting you and your expertise in what you're doing. That has to feel good for you.
And never did she say, that's too much money. I can't afford that.
Right.
Never did she say that. She went with everything that I said, we should do this. I gave her options like, you know, do you want this couch, or that chair, that chair? I gave her options.
Yes.
Everything I said, this is number one, she normally would go with the number one that I chose.
Okay.
Then I had another woman, an African American, and I try to include as many African American vendors in these projects as I possibly can. There was another woman that I brought in who did her draperies.
Okay.
So I'm like, I picked out the fabric for the draperies, and she did the draperies. We had another guy who came in and did the electrical work, because there were places where we wanted to put chandeliers that had never had the sockets or the outlets for a chandelier. So we got an African American to come in and do that. And then there's a handyman, African American, we got him involved. So everybody who was involved in the project on some level were African Americans, and that was important to me.
So that's great, because you're basically supporting black business.
Exactly.
And of course, we all need support to live, to
Yeah,
survive, to strive, and what it is that we're doing. So tell me, what's next for Lloyd Gite?
That's a good question. I don't know. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing because I'm enjoying that. I don't think of retirement, even though I'm pushing retirement age. I think retirement for me would be a waste of time because I'm really enjoying what I do.
Right.
And I think that I'm too young to even think about retiring, even though I will be that age very soon. I could write a book at some point. I mean, I have enough stuff to write about. At some point, I would like to do maybe a home book or something like that. Because I used to do stuff for Onyx Style magazine, and we would go into the homes of black people. And people loved seeing how black people live because nobody ever shows us how black people live. So I might do something along those lines.
It was very nice, very upscale magazine.
And unfortunately, it didn't stay around.
No, it didn't.
And in a city like Houston, with the population of African Americans that we have, we should have that kind of a magazine. There's some
people big magazine too.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
People are pushing me to do something like that again.
Okay.
If I have a support team, I probably would do it because nobody is featuring us the way we should be featured. Nobody covers us like we should be covered.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at these magazines and you see nothing but white people, and occasionally they'll put some Asians in there. But when it comes to who we are and covering our events, it's just, you don't see that. I mean,
Right.
I did some event coverage for the Chronicle for about 2 or 3 years, only because nobody was covering black events. And I'm like, we are an integral part of this city when it comes to socializing.
Right.
We have fashion, we have architecture, we have, you name it, we have it and we do it. And people should be able to see that.
Right. And we are multi-talented people. We have so much going on.
Oh my God. I'm amazed.
Yeah, and the world only gets to see a certain portion of it, so we need more exposure in that area. So I think a magazine like that would definitely do the city some good.
And again, who can you point the finger at? Us. We've not done it. It's not an issue of money. It's not an issue of talent. The talent is here and the money is here. If somebody really wanted to do a quality publication, they could do it. It's just like, and that's not only with magazines, television. If somebody wants to do quality television like you're doing, then we can do it. But how many of Ferrell Phelpses do we know who are doing what you're doing? I mean, how many? Not many.
Right.
But we can do it. We have the resources. We can do it. We just don't want to sacrifice what it takes to do it.
Exactly. Exactly. And I know for myself it's so important that I do it because I want the world to be blessed through this gift of this medium, and I want the world to get the exposure to people like yourself in the arts, celebrities, things of that nature that they may not be privy to on a day-to-day basis. I like to share triumphant stories and things that make a difference. You know, when I listen to your story about formerly being a news anchor and the thing that happened to you with you being fired, and then you transition. Now you're a gallery owner. You know, that type of story is a good story to share because it lets people know it's not over until you say it's over. You know, and when we talk about a plan A, plan B, and C, it's important that we have those plans set in place so that we can make these types of things happen.
I agree.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
I can't thank you enough for your time, your energy, and your efforts on being on this show today and sharing with the world what Lloyd Gite is all about.
The pleasure's mine.
I want to ask you, how do people get in touch with you to find out more about Gite Gallery?
Well, of course, we have a website, thegitegallery.com, www. We're on all the social media, like the Facebook, and as I tell people, go to the Google. And you, I know it's not the Google, I know it's Google. But I aged myself because I always say
the
Google. Right. And, all social media, we have people who deal with our social media. And as I said earlier, I don't necessarily, I can't do those things, but I can get people to do it.
That know how to do that. Yeah. And Google is very important. That's how I actually got your photo so that I could post it.
Oh, really?
To be on the show today.
Oh, okay.
And everything as well. So yeah, Google is very important.
The Google is important.
So the Google was used to get Lloyd.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So that's how people can contact us.
Okay, so Google, and that's the Gite Galleries. Is there a phone number, Lloyd?
Sure, 713-523-3311. Easy number to remember.
All right, so you guys got that. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Ferrell Phelps Show.
Pleasure was mine.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right, now for more information on the Ferrell Phelps Show, you can simply go to Let's Talk About It 12TV@gmail.com. You can email us there. You can also find us on YouTube. Just simply type in the name, Ferrell Phelps. You'll see a list of our shows right there for your viewing pleasure. All right, until next time, we'll see you then.